Part 8. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 72. Yes, her little beast is hungry like all living things, but its food happens to be zombie crystal nuclei. She uses her mental power to control Xiao Man. Commanding Xiao Man to cooperate with her in fighting will consume her own mental power. And if Xiao Man fights with her, he will also lose his own energy. Her mental power loss can be replenished by absorbing low-grade colorless crystal nuclei, while Xiao Man's. Haha, it's all the crystal nuclei of various colors. When she discovered this situation, she was so excited that she almost couldn't sleep. Xiao Man's incredible characteristics can turn him into a head harvester on the zombie battlefield. You must know that the most indispensable thing on the zombie battlefield is zombie crystal cores. A big killer is not scary, what is scary is that it is a tireless perpetual motion killer. Of course, the premise is that she can keep up mentally. It was also because of this discovery that Len Ning had the courage to take Uncle Liang and the others out to get supplies. It just so happened that she couldn't wait to see how capable Xiao Man was at full power. The ending certainly did not disappoint her. Xiao Man's performance was truly remarkable. She only needs to hold one end of Xiao Man, and Xiao Man can attack all approaching zombies at any time according to her wishes. While attacking, she can also use her tentacles to send back the crystal nuclei she wants in an orderly manner. In less than 5 minutes, zombie corpses were piled up around Len Ning. In order not to affect the car's return later, after the zombies were almost killed, Len Ning began to direct Xiao Man to clean up the scene. Speaking of which, this cleaning work is actually more difficult than killing zombies. Len Ning wasted a whole dozen minutes. There were fewer zombies approaching, and the road for the car to leave the scene was cleared. Len Ning then put Xiao Man away and turned it back into a stick shape. She still didn't know what was going on with Uncle Liang and the others, so she had to go and take a look. Thinking of this, Len Ning immediately chased Uncle Liang and the three of them. Along the way, Len Ning found many zombie corpses on the ground. From the looks of it, almost all of them were killed with iron rods. In addition, there were very few zombies attacking her along the way, so Len Ning guessed that Uncle Liang and the others should have arrived at the store selling sporting goods. Worried that the three of them would be in danger, Len Ning ran all the way towards the store. After about 5 minutes, I finally saw the supermarket sign with emergency lights on in the fog. That store is near the supermarket. When the supermarket arrives, the store is also nearby. Relying on his memory, Len Ning headed in the direction of that store. Suddenly an iron rod was pierced towards her face. With a dodge, Len Ning avoided the opponent's attack. "It's me," knowing that the other party was one of his own, Len Ning hurriedly said in a deep voice. "Len Ning? You're still alive. I almost thought you died if I didn't follow you for so long." Zhou Tao immediately appeared in front of Len Ning. "Even if you hang up, I won't hang up either." Len Ning glanced at Zhou Tao angrily and stepped forward. "You have to find an opportunity to educate this guy and see when he can get rid of his habit of swearing." Len Ning stepped forward and found that Yuan Xing and Uncle Liang were picking the lock. "What's going on?" he asked with a smile. "I don't dare to smash it for fear of making a big noise." Yuan Xing stood up and said to Len Ning with a frown. "A few zombies are not scary, what is scary is that they come in groups. It is said that 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. If those things attack in groups, it will be difficult for them to escape intact. Delaying is not an option, let's fight quickly." Len Ning glanced at Zuo and frowned. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 73. Yuan Xing, you and Uncle Liang are responsible for breaking down the door and getting weapons. Zhou Tao and I will guard the perimeter. This Yuan Xing hesitated. This place is connected in all directions, and there are quite a few zombies around. If they couldn't break the door in a short time, they might be in big trouble. "What nonsense are you talking about? Just do as Boss Len Ning says, Zhou Tao said directly. Yuan Xing immediately calmed down the worry on his face and nodded to Len Ning. Len Ning raised his head and glanced at Zhou Tao, then walked into the fog. That's right, you can hang out with me when you get back, he said with a smile as he walked away. In my previous life, I often saw eldest brother's subordinates calling him boss. It turns out that being called boss feels so good. Okay, if you are willing to be my wife, let alone boss, you can even call me mother. Zhou Tao said immediately. Before he finished speaking, a very sharp thorn appeared in front of him. The distance was controlled just right, right at the tip of his nose. The thorn looked sharp and hard. If he hadn't stopped just now, his nose would have been pierced by now. Hee, it's just a joke. Just a joke. Zhou Tao said quickly to please. Xiaoman stopped in front of Zhou Tao's nose for 2 seconds, and finally retreated suddenly. Zhou Tao then touched his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. It's really fierce and spicy, and damn charming. Ha ha. Immediately, there was a huge sound of breaking the door behind Zhou Tao. At the same time, the nearby zombies heard the sound and began to run towards the side excitedly. Zhou Tao's expression changed, and he quickly tightened his grip on the iron rod in his hand, putting himself on high alert. Just as he was about to rush out to help Len Ning, he heard Len Ning say in a deep voice, "Just stay there. If any fish slip through my net, remember to send them away." "Sure. There's absolutely no problem with me here. It'll be fine if you put in a few more," Zhou Tao replied angrily. Len Ning curled his lips, waved the Xiaoman in his hand, and strangled the approaching zombies crazily. After about 3 minutes, Uncle Liang and Yuan Xing finally got their weapons. At this time, Len Ning's mental power was running low in his sea of consciousness, and he began to show signs of exhaustion. Fortunately, she had the colorless crystal cores collected by Xiaoman and could still sustain herself. "We got the things, move out," Yuan Xing said in a deep voice, and he and Uncle Liang headed back in the direction of the turnaround with a bag of weapons. Zhou Tao killed a zombie that ran in front of him and looked in the direction of Len Ning. "Len Ning, let's go," shouted loudly. "Let's go first, wait for me in the car," Len Ning replied in a deep voice and continued to deal with the zombies. Zhou Tao hesitated for a moment, but followed after 3 seconds. After walking 2 or 3 meters, Zhou Tao discovered that the open space was already filled with zombie corpses. There is no doubt that these zombies were all killed by Len Ning just now. How strong does Len Ning have to be? Killed so many zombies in such a short time. The 3 of them were looking for a space to stay among the zombie corpses, and while killing them, they retreated towards the car. While retreating, I was filled with wonder at how terrifying Len Ning was. They also killed a lot of zombies along the way, but the total number probably accounted for less than 1/10 of the zombie corpses they saw along the way. Especially in the open space where the cars are parked, there are so many zombie corpses piled up on both sides of the road that it makes people feel numb. Judging from the arrangement, it was obvious that Len Ning moved the corpse after killing the zombie so as not to affect their drive back to the apartment. When the 3 of them arrived at the car, they did not get in, but waited for Len Ning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 74. Hey, Uncle Liang, didn't you agree before that you would take us to the supermarket to buy instant noodles after getting the weapons, in order to relieve the tension? Zhou Tao suddenly said. Grandma, Len Ning, you should come back soon. Now they don't have a single bunker except this car. If zombies come over, they can only fight them head on. A flash of embarrassment flashed across Uncle Liang's face. Don't worry. The lady has said that she will give you the instant noodles she promised you. Seeing Yuan Xing turning back to look at him, Uncle Liang finally said. These two boys are still thinking about instant noodles at this time. If you really want to waste time going to the supermarket, your life will be taken care of here. Zhou Tao's eyes lit up instantly. No? Are you saying that Len Ning went to the supermarket alone? Then he asked Uncle Liang nervously. He knew that Len Ning was very fierce, but after all, she was only one person. 20 bowls of instant noodles are quite large in size. She is so small, can she handle it? If you really have that many instant noodles in your hand, can you still deal with zombies? Yuan Xing also looked at Uncle Liang. A complex look flashed across Uncle Liang's face. No, oh, anyway, the lady will give you what she promised you. Then she struggled. The lady didn't disclose the supplies at home, so of course he couldn't. Although, these two young men don't look like they have evil intentions. Yuan Xing's eyes fluctuated a little. It feels like there must be some secret between the master and the servant that no one else knows. Promise. If she doesn't go to the supermarket to get it, where can she give us the instant noodles? No. Zhou Tao also realized something was wrong in an instant. Uncle Liang, are you hiding something from us? Then he looked at Uncle Liang strangely. Uncle Liang's behavior is indeed a bit strange. They had clearly agreed to go to the supermarket to get supplies, but when they were approaching the supermarket, he asked them to get weapons. Considering that the iron rod in their hands was not suitable for them at the time and that Uncle Liang had already run in that direction, they pursued him. After he got the weapon later, Uncle Liang didn't even look in that direction when passing by the supermarket. Although the situation was urgent at the time, it was really not appropriate to go to the supermarket to get supplies. But it's so unreasonable to just run away without even looking at him. Hey, what can happen to me? Uncle Liang looked away guiltily. Just when Zhou Tao was about to continue questioning Uncle Liang, Len Ning finally came back. Seeing Len Ning, Uncle Liang finally felt at ease. When Zhou Tao and Yuan Xing saw Len Ning's empty hands, the little hope they had in their hearts was instantly dashed. I really came back empty-handed, they're instant noodles. Forget it, the instant noodles are gone. It would be a good idea to talk to Len Ning and ask her to give them 2 weapons. In this situation, it would be good to go back with 1 life. What are you doing standing still? Get in the car. Len Ning stabbed a charging zombie to death with his Xiaoman, and said to several people in a deep voice. Yes, get in the car, Uncle Liang replied quickly. Then, behind the Len Ning palace, the 3 of them quickly got into the car. Uncle Liang started the car. After the car started moving, Len Ning got into the passenger seat and quickly closed the door. The car sped along and knocked away several zombies one after another. Everyone in the car was in shock, and no one said a word along the way. About 10 minutes later, Uncle Liang finally parked the car less than 200 meters away from the apartment door. This place is right at the crossroads and is connected in all directions. It will be more convenient next time you use a car. In addition, to ensure the safety of the apartment, he did not dare to park his car too close to the apartment. After all, such a loud noise would attract a lot of zombies. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 75. Everyone got out of the car, and zombies swarmed in. Len Ning dealt with the zombies coming from 3 directions, leaving only one direction for Uncle Liang and the other 3. The 3 of them used new weapons, and the efficiency of killing zombies increased several times, and they were able to kill easily with the knife in hand. This time, the progress of the 3 people in solving the trouble finally prevailed. You guys go first, I have to clean up these tails, Len Ning said solemnly. The iron gate of the apartment has limited defensive capabilities. If these zombies are allowed to follow, the iron gate will probably be destroyed soon. If the iron gate is really broken, there is no way to find someone to repair it. Let's go, Zhou Tao said immediately, leading Uncle Liang and Yuan Xing to run towards the apartment. After several people disappeared from sight, Len Ning once again urged Xiaoman with all his strength and launched the head harvester mode. Zombies fell to the ground quickly, and the exquisite crystal cores were once again pocketed by Len Ning. Touching the heavy pocket full of crystal cores, Len Ning felt full of energy even though he was a little tired. The proportion of crystal nuclei encountered by these zombies today is much higher than yesterday. It seems that the zombies are evolving very quickly. After killing for 7 or 8 minutes, Len Ning finally wiped out every zombie that surrounded him. It felt like time was almost up, and his body began to get tired faster, so Len Ning began to retreat. As she walked, she continued to use Xiaoman to clean up the zombies chasing her. "Hurry up, Len Ning," suddenly Zhou Tao's voice came. Len Ning turned around. "I saw Zhou Tao, Yuan Xing, and Uncle Liang all there." Len Ning breathed a sigh of relief. Right now she was almost at her limit. The effect of absorbing low-grade crystal nuclei to quickly restore mental power is continuously decreasing. She has used up a lot of crystal nuclei, and the recovery of mental power is extremely slow at the moment. Wiping off the large beads of sweat on his forehead, Len Ning safely asked his 3 companions to clean up the final mess for him. After retreating to the iron gate, Len Ning finally returned to the apartment compound. Several members of the duty team were present at this moment, and everyone was shocked to see Len Ning coming back. Han Yu was also there, and she had already gotten up from the ground. He was holding an iron rod in his hand and standing less than 5 meters away from the iron gate on duty. Seeing Len Ning, she didn't dare to come forward this time. "Thank you for your hard work, where are Zhou Tao and the others?" One person stepped forward to support Len Ning and asked with concern. "Outside." "Could you please help me?" Len Ning followed the man's support and sat down on a stool nearby. After all, she underestimated the enemy. Although the zombies outside are all weaklings, they can't resist the sheer numbers. She is now mentally exhausted, and it will be difficult for her to recover within half a day. "Hey, I'm so hungry. I need to ask my mother to get more delicious food when I go back later." "Okay." The man agreed immediately. Just as he was about to ask another member of the team on duty to go out with him to help, he heard a voice coming from behind him. "If you have the ability, you can go out and get supplies, but if you don't, it's easy to come back. Now we have to help wipe your butt." The person who spoke was Lu Bing, the boy who was taken advantage of by Han Yu before. Len Ning's face darkened. "Lu Bing, please stop saying a few words." Someone couldn't stand it and said to Lu Bing. "Did I say something wrong?" They didn't listen to the arrangement and insisted on going out. Now they can't handle it by themselves, so they need our help. The car made such a big noise outside just now, and I don't know how many zombies were attracted. If it's because of this, who will be responsible for bringing danger to the apartment? Who knew that Lu Bing not only did not hold back, but instead shouted loudly. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 76. A look of confusion flashed across the boy's face. He still felt that Lu Bing's statement was inappropriate, but he could not refute it. If Len Ning and the others really attract zombies, they will indeed be in trouble. If it really attracts a zombie wave, I, Len Ning, will deal with it myself. Len Ning stood up suddenly and looked at Lu Bing. Before, she felt that Lu Bing was pitiful and was being toyed with by Han Yu. Now it seems that Han Yu should really be allowed to play him to death. Uncle Liang and the others are probably in a bad situation now. Regardless of whether it will really induce a zombie wave, as a teammate, it is a duty to go out and help. Even if you don't care about friendship, at this point, for the safety of everyone in the apartment, you should go out without hesitation. After all, if the zombie wave really comes, who will be spared? What depresses Len Ning the most is that she helped him before, but now he is so mean and deliberately making things difficult. "You solve it yourself? Do you really think you are a god?" A look of disdain flashed across Lu Bing's face. Lu Bing at this time, the other boy couldn't stand it anymore. However, Lu Bing still had no good expression and continued to look at Len Ning angrily. Len Ning suddenly smiled. "What are you laughing at?" Lu Bing suddenly became angry. In the past, they liked to laugh at themselves for being poor and poor. He thought so. Now that we have reached this stage, most of the people who laughed at him for being poor and ignorant are dead, and only a few are still alive. At this time and place, he, Lu Bing, is no longer inferior to anyone else. No matter how wealthy their family is or how trendy their clothes are, they are still weak in front of zombies. These delicate eldest ladies, the young masters who can't carry their shoulders or carry them on their backs, will die the fastest when the zombies come. You can laugh if you want. Do you have any role in interfering? Len Ning curled his lips and said. I sent out 3 buckets of instant noodles to find someone to help me clean up the mess outside, Len Ning suddenly said. For a moment everyone looked at Len Ning. Instant noodles? Or 3 barrels? Even Lu Bing's eyes changed when he looked at Len Ning. What food is more attractive than instant noodles at this time? Just the word instant noodles is enough to make people hungry. Len Ning, you don't have to dash, the boy who just spoke to Len Ning said quickly. We don't know how long this heavy fog will last. 3 buckets of instant noodles are enough to feed one person for 2 days. Although Len Ning did not return to the city with them and stayed in the resort, he should have saved some supplies. But after all, there are 3 people in her family, so it may not be easy at this time. Next, on the day they returned to the apartment, Teacher Zhang took some supplies from Len Ning. Even if she does prepare supplies, I'm afraid it won't be too much. Len Ning smiled at the boy. 3 buckets of instant noodles per person, plus a dagger, he continued. Dagger? When everyone heard this, their eyes almost lit up. The weapons they now use are mostly iron rods, almost entirely machined from apartment stair railings. Bulky and inefficient at killing zombies. If there is a dagger, it would be a major upgrade to the weapon. Len Ning, are you serious? Immediately, another boy couldn't help but speak. He had long since stopped using iron bars as weapons. If he could get a dagger, he would feel more at ease when going out in the future. Of course, Len Ning said solemnly. Okay, count me in, the boy said immediately. Can I go? A reserve team member also spoke. But he was not an official member yet, he had killed few zombies, and he was a little afraid that Len Ning would not agree. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 77. Who knew? Len Ning actually nodded. Count me in, the boy saw this and said quickly. Although he thought he shouldn't want Len Ning's things, the opportunity was rare and he didn't want to miss it. Thank you, Len Ning nodded to the boy. Let's go, don't waste time, the boy scratched his head and said a little embarrassed. The other 2 people who wanted to participate responded, and the 3 of them walked out of the iron gate one after another. I'm really not afraid of death for something, Lu Bing said unhappily as he looked at the backs of several people leaving. But that longing look had already betrayed him. He wanted to go too, but unfortunately he couldn't bear to negotiate terms with Len Ning. Len Ning curled his lips, ignored Lu Bing, and turned his head to look at the vast fog outside the iron gate. Seeing that Len Ning ignored him, Lu Bing stopped pestering him, looked away, and continued to stand guard. At the same time, he was cursing in his heart that Zhou Tao and the others had already been eaten by zombies. It would be best if the 3 people who went out just now never come back. Suddenly, a hand grabbed the iron door. Then there was a muffled sound, and a body hit the iron door. It's Yuan Xing. Len Ning's expression suddenly changed from worry to joy. Hurry and open the door for Yuan Xing. Are you okay? Where are Zhou Tao and Uncle Liang? Len Ning asked anxiously as he opened the door. Before Yuan Xin had time to answer, Zhou Tao and Uncle Liang had already walked out of the white mist, followed by the three people who just went out to help. It's all solved. Finally, there is no danger. Yuan Xin smiled heartily. Boss Len Ning, I'm convinced this time. I thought there would be a lot of zombies left, but there weren't many at all, Zhou Tao said with a smile. To ensure safety, we stayed outside for a while, but in the end there were really only about 10 zombies appearing in twos and threes. Hey, I feel really embarrassed when I think about it. Just a dozen zombies in front of one another took them a lot of effort. In particular, Yuan Xin contributed the most and even used his superpower in the middle. It's a pity that his superpower is useless. After just a few attempts, I couldn't use it anymore, and in the end I was as weak as a woman. They had already killed the zombies when we arrived, so they didn't help much. A boy scratched his head and said embarrassedly. I heard from Zhou Tao that you killed most of the zombies outside, Len Ning, I admire you, another boy followed. Lu Bing, who was not far away, had a gloomy face at this time. It's okay. God is so short-sighted. Len Ning didn't reply and looked at Uncle Liang. Uncle Liang, give me the things then, he said in a deep voice. Uncle Liang was stunned. Okay, then he took off the weapon bag he was carrying and handed it to Len Ning. Len Ning took the bag and opened the zipper. Then he actually took out the dagger from inside. One for each of you. Len Ning took out 3 daggers and handed them directly to the 3 people who had just agreed to go out to help. The 3 of them all stared at the dagger in Len Ning's hand. If they said they didn't want it, that would be a lie. We didn't do much to help just now. A boy said awkwardly. I'm afraid it's not appropriate to take other people's things without merit. The other 2 people said nothing and did not step forward. They really just went out for a walk, and the distance they walked was not even 50 meters nearby. It's really inappropriate to take other people's things, but you don't want anything. Take it. The conditions have been agreed upon a long time ago. Len Ning, keep my word. Len Ning had no intention of taking back the dagger. Thank you Sci-Fi Fairy Mamata for the gift. Muma Muma. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 78. The 3 of them looked at each other and finally chose to accept Len Ning's gift. Thank you, you're welcome. After the boy thanked him, the other 2 also followed suit. Then, he took the daggers from Len Ning's hand one after another. They couldn't wait to check their new weapons. The faces of the 3 of them were full of excitement. This dagger feels good in the hand and has a sharp edge, not much worse than a military thorn. With such a weapon in hand, it will be much easier to kill zombies. I also promised you 3 buckets of instant noodles per person. Wait until I go back to get it and ask Uncle Liang to deliver it to you, Len Ning said and looked at Uncle Liang. Before the 3 of them responded, Zhou Tao's eyes widened. What? Not only did he give away daggers, but he also gave 3 buckets of instant noodles to each person. Is this Len Ning so generous to others? They went out for a run, and at first she agreed to only make 10 instant noodles per person. Yuan Xin gave Zhou Tao a warning look. They went out with Len Ning voluntarily. According to the conditions of the previous bet, let alone supplies, even if Len Ning had nothing, it would be reasonable to give them nothing. As for these 3 people, it was because Len Ning was worried about their safety that he spent a lot of money to ask others to help. The fact that she was willing to offer such generous terms proved that she did not treat them as outsiders. Zhou Tao finally shut up, but his eyes still looked a little unhappy when he looked at Len Ning. 3 people, each with 3 buckets of instant noodles, adding up to 9 buckets. If they all divided it up, would he still have it? Len Ning, a dagger is enough. Now that supplies are tight, we appreciate the kindness. A flash of struggle flashed across the boy's face, and he finally spoke to Len Ning. The other 2 people were also a little loose on their faces. Well, you can keep it. It was indeed. It didn't help another boy followed. The only newcomer among the three glanced at everyone and nodded. Although, he actually wants instant noodles. But neither of the students asked for it, so he felt a little embarrassed as an adult to speak. I've already taken a dagger to defend myself, so I'd better put it away as soon as possible. Lu Bing, who was not far away, chuckled, looking sarcastic. Although he didn't speak, his chuckle was clearly heard by many people present. Since it was agreed before, there is no reason not to give it. Len Ning, keep my word. Len Ning once again used the 4 words keep my promise with a look of persistence. Then he looked at Uncle Liang aside. Uncle Liang, please go back and get instant noodles now. I'll wait here. Everyone was stunned. Everyone thought that Len Ning would just give up and just go with the flow, but they didn't expect that she was actually willing to get instant noodles. Lu Bing was also shocked. He looked at Len Ning with an extremely incomprehensible look. Not far away from him, Han Yu also looked at Len Ning, filled with resentment in her heart. She was this kind of person, originally as poor and humble as she was. But because she climbed into a powerful family like the Lei family, and then tried her best to show her kindness and generosity, she wanted everyone to think she was noble. Okay, miss, I'll be right back, Uncle Liang said and left. According to Teacher Jiang's previous regulations, half of the materials you retrieve when you go out must be handed over to the public. Han Yu, who had not spoken for a long time, suddenly stepped forward. She looked at the bag of weapons in Len Ning's hand with burning eyes. Isn't she kind and generous? Then divide the things in half. I thought Len Ning's expression would change, but who knew she actually smiled. I know. After Uncle Liang comes down and gives them the instant noodles, we will go to the duty room to find Teacher Zhang to register and hand over the supplies. Zhou Tao has the temperament of a young man, so it is normal to have such thoughts. But he didn't object to Len Ning's arrangement, and he respected Len Ning in his heart. It's just human nature. I hope you guys don't take it too seriously. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Ki Now. Chapter 79. Han Yu's expression froze on her face. It was really easy for her to make the decision by voluntarily handing over half of the hard-earned weapons and supplies. Why are you still so unconcerned? Are your thoughts really that noble? It's so disgusting. Even though his goal of forcing Len Ning was achieved, Han Yu was still furious and jealous inside. Why was she still smiling so brightly even though she had won this time? When the others present saw Len Ning's willingness to cooperate, they instantly won the favor of almost everyone. Even Lu Bing, who was extremely unkind to her, was stunned at this moment and no longer looked at Len Ning with hatred in his eyes. Among all the people present, the only one who was mentally unbalanced was probably Zhou Tao. This girl Len Ning is so willing to treat others, why can't she be more generous to him? When he thought that Uncle Liang would bring 9 buckets of instant noodles to others later, he felt panicked. Super obsessed with instant noodles. Don't worry, at this time, Len Ning suddenly looked at him. The mouth was opened, but no sound came out, but the mouth shape said these 2 words. Zhou Tao was stunned for a moment. Afterwards, my heart suddenly felt at ease. Did Len Ning talk to him just now? Haha, that reassures him, right? This little girl must have other plans for him. Oh my God, why are you so excited? After a while, Uncle Liang finally came down. Then, Len Ning followed the previous agreement and distributed the 9 barrels of instant noodles to the 3 people who had helped before. Afterwards, Len Ning asked Uncle Liang to carry the weapons bag and took Zhou Tao and Yuan Xingzhen to the duty room. Zhang Huai had already received the news about Len Ning's outing, and even visited the Iron Gate several times. Now that I see Len Ning and others returning safely and bringing back many weapons, I feel excited and relieved. These 3 students of his are really talented and bold. According to the previous regulations, we need to hand over half of the weapons and supplies. This long knife is what I promised Uncle Liang early on. Is it okay to give away the rest? Len Ning pointed to the long knife in the weapon bag. The store had more weapons than she expected. Uncle Liang and Yuan Xing bought 2 big bags together. But when she came back, she only asked Uncle Liang to bring back this bag. She asked Yuan Xing to put the other bag of weapons in the car to avoid having half of it taken away when she got it back. She is a rule-abiding person, but she is not a bad person. They had just handed over half of the supplies they had worked so hard to get back for nothing. How could they possibly be balanced in their hearts? Okay, the long sword doesn't count, you take half of the rest. I've made the final decision on this matter, Zhang Huai said. There are a total of 10 daggers and 1 long knife left here. Len Ning took away 5 daggers and 1 long knife, leaving 5 daggers left. Even if there are only 5 daggers left, the combat capability of the duty team can be greatly improved. I gave you 3 daggers outside just now. Remember to put them on my head, Len Ning suddenly said. Including long knives, the total number of weapons retrieved is 14. I divided 1 long knife and 6 daggers. I just gave 3 daggers outside, so I only took 3 daggers and 1 long dagger here. Knife, Len Ning said solemnly. Zhang Huai was stunned. Those 3 daggers can be counted as public expenditures, he then said. This girl has such an upright temperament. Zhou Tao and Yuan Xing also looked at Len Ning. Although they know that Len Ning actually hid weapons in the car outside, are they too stupid to give up the opportunity to get more weapons now? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Ki Now. Chapter 80. No, except for this long knife, let's just do business, Len Ning said calmly. She didn't want to give anyone an excuse for 2 daggers. As for the long knife, they got it back and handled it according to the regulations. No one will talk nonsense because of this issue. Okay, Zhang Huai gave Len Ning an appreciative look. Having more weapons on duty would also be a good thing for the whole apartment. Len Ning then reached into the bag and took out the long knife first. Uncle Liang, give. Then he gave the knife directly to Uncle Liang. Uncle Liang was overjoyed and hurriedly took it. After getting the long knife, he had already used it as a weapon. On the way back to the apartment from the shop, he killed more than a dozen zombies with this long knife. Before coming to the duty room, the lady asked them to return the weapons to their bags, but they were still a little reluctant to part with them. Now it's fine, the long knife is back in his hand again. Looking at Uncle Liang's excited expression, Len Ning couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. Then he took out 2 daggers from the bag and threw them to Zhou Tao and Yuan Xing respectively. This is yours. Smiles immediately appeared on the faces of Zhou Tao and Yuan Xing. With these 2 daggers, the risk was not in vain. Zhang Huai saw a smile of relief on his face when he saw Len Ning being so generous. Then, Len Ning took out the last dagger from the bag. Teacher Zhang, this one is for you. Unexpectedly, Len Ning actually gave the dagger to Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai was stunned. No reward for no merit, isn't that bad? The 3 students suddenly laughed. Isn't it good? Doesn't this mean that I like it very much and want it very much? Seeing the expressions of the students, Zhang Huai also laughed. I'm really embarrassed. He naturally liked such a good weapon, but he felt it was inappropriate to accept Len Ning's generous gift for nothing. Just accept it and treat it as a gift to thank you, Len Ning said with mysterious eyes. Zhang Huai instantly understood what Len Ning was referring to. Okay, then I'll be disrespectful. Then he finally took the dagger. Zhang Huai opened the scabbard and looked at it. Seeing that the blade was sharp, Zhang Huai was very satisfied. If you need help in the future, just tell the teacher. Zhang Huai put away the dagger and said to the others. Okay, Len Ning replied with a smile. Then he said goodbye to Zhang Huai. On the way back to the room, Zhou Tao couldn't stop laughing. Huh, what did Teacher Zhang mean just now? Was he going to protect us? After holding it in for a while, Zhou Tao finally couldn't hold it back and said. Teacher Zhang has the most power in the apartment now. If he is willing to protect them, wouldn't the next days be much easier? Len Ning rolled his eyes at Zhou Tao. Just keep it clear in your heart and keep your mouth shut, then he said. This kid has an impulsive personality and speaks out loud, so don't give Teacher Zhang any trouble. Zhou Tao was stunned and quickly shut up. After a moment, he couldn't help but continue to speak. Boss Len Ning, you are still the best. You are actually fawning over Teacher Shang Zhang now. With that said, Zhou Tao looked at Len Ning with admiration. Len Ning glared at Zhou Tao in displeasure. What are you saying to flatter me? Can't you say something nice? Hee, it's my mouth that's stupid. It's my mouth that's stupid, Zhou Tao replied with a smile. Then he continued to speak. Uncle Liang said before, can you solve the problem of instant noodles? He is so hungry now. If he could get a bucket, oh no, 2 buckets of hot instant noodles at this time, it would really be a great enjoyment in life. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Qi Now. Chapter 81. Yuan Xing, who had been silent, also looked at Len Ning. There seemed to be a mouthful of saliva in the throat. Len Ning chuckled lightly. This is simple. Zhou Tao and Yuan Xing's eyes immediately shone with light. Simple? Is that really a show? I can give you 20 bags each. The bucket didn't hold that many, but she packed a lot in the bag. Anyway, there are bowls in the apartment room, so the difference between bags and buckets is not that big. Boss, you will be my boss from now on. Zhou Tao just barely made a move, hugging Len Ning and doing a 360-degree spin. Len Ning, thank you, Yuan Xing also said excitedly to Len Ning. Are you so happy now? No, pursued unexpectedly, Len Ning said lightly, with a hint of contempt in his eyes. At this time, the group of people had arrived at the floor where they lived. Rounding the corner, Len Ning was at the forefront. What are you not pursuing? Zhou Tao was a little dissatisfied. Shouldn't instant noodles be the most delicious food right now? Hey, that's not right. After a moment, Zhou Tao seemed to have enlightened himself. After looking at each other with Yuan Xing, the two of them immediately chased Len Ning. Boss, do you have any good stuff there? After all, we are fighting for life and death together, don't forget my little brother. Zhou Tao quickly caught up with Len Ning. Yes, Yuan Xing is stupid and can't speak shamelessly like Zhou Tao, but he doesn't want to miss out on delicious food. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. Really want to be my little brother? He didn't answer, but looked at the two of them and asked. The two of them were stunned for a moment, with a hint of embarrassment flashing across their faces. Of course, calling him boss was just to please her deliberately. But looking at what she meant, it seemed like she really wanted to accept them as her younger brothers. They are two gorgeous tigers who act as younger brothers to the youngest girl in the class. This. It turned out to be a joke. The smile on Len Ning's face faded, and then he raised his feet and prepared to continue walking. No, I'm not joking. I follow you sincerely. I sincerely. Zhou Tao quickly stopped Len Ning. At the same time, he glanced at Yuan Xing and nodded to him. What's the point of following a little girl? Len Ning's ability is stronger than all of them here. They follow her, enjoy the food and drink, and together they can form the strongest team in the apartment. Yes, the main thing is to drink spicy food that is popular. He wants to eat instant noodles every meal. Len Ning just said he would give them bags of instant noodles, or 20 bags per person. What does this mean? The amount of instant noodles in Representative Len Ning's hands is probably unimaginable. You should know that most instant noodles in supermarkets come in packages of 5 or 10 bags. Len Ning must have a lot of large packages of instant noodles like this. Len Ning smiled softly, and then looked at Yuan Xing. What about you? He asked. Zhou Tao is a good talker, so it is not difficult to bribe him. As for Yuan Xing, she was also quite interested. Zhou Tao immediately looked at Yuan Xing again and bumped his shoulder with his shoulder. What are you still doing in a daze? Why don't you join him and hug the boss's lap tightly? I am willing to. After hesitating for 3 seconds, Yuan Xing finally said. He went out for a walk today and found that the situation outside was more serious than he thought. I don't know when the fog will lift and communications will be restored. Before his family comes looking for him or he finds a suitable opportunity to leave, forming an alliance with Len Ning is the most beneficial guarantee. Len Ning nodded. Okay. Then I will accept you two young brothers generously, then he said with a bit of pride, then raised his feet and continued walking forward.